have a question I would like to ask.
Stuart, would you talk about the feminine principle?
About the feminine principle?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll try. uh, I don't know how to talk about that without including its, both the yin and the yang, the male-female principle. Because the feminine principle by itself, we need harmony inside. We need balance inside. The same way we need it in the world. We need the male-female principle to operate together. The feminine principle, it's the earth, it receives, it's watered by the sky, the male principle is the hunter, it gives. And, but these two are essential to each other. They're absolutely essential to each other. And it doesn't matter if somebody is, straight, gay, whatever, trans, whatever, all these letters, it doesn't matter. Because in order for them to become healthy and to function in a conscious way, whatever their sexual appetite has no relevance. They have to bring together the male-female principle. Because that creates a wholeness inside. It creates harmony inside. Creates balance inside. And it's irrelevant of what one's sexual preferences are, That's why I never take interest in that and don't ever ask people those kind of questions. I'm not interested. Because I know in order for a person to have a spiritual life, there's got to be the union of the masculine and feminine, the Shiva, the Shakti. In Judaism, in the Kabbalah, it's Jehovah, Shekhinah. There's always the union of the male-female principle in every single religion, every single spiritual practice. And as we build that kind of inner life, that union takes place. People should learn about this. It's really important because there's so much tension that goes on in the world, between men and women, and it's all stupid, It's only because people haven't unified that male-female principle in themselves that they separate each other into boxes. And it's just stupid. It doesn't really, it really never creates any kind of balance or harmony in the world. It's always competitive, and it always has to do with, I am the victim, I am the whatever, all this kind of stuff that keeps people from ever having a spiritual life. And the reason for it is that nobody does inner work, so they have to have some false image of themselves. If you do inner work, you don't need a false image of your sexuality. You're secure in it, whatever it is, whether you're a man or a woman, you're completely secure in your sexuality. And you embrace the opposite. You let the world be, for God's sake, because you can be inside yourself. We need to receive. We need to be the earth. We also need to give. So this giving and this receiving is unconditional because a person has built an inner life that is strong enough to do this. Otherwise, it's me versus you. And we always find, reasons, and so much of it has to do with, sex, sexual orientation or the sex that one was born into, whether it's male or female or whatever it is. Even now, transgender and all the stuff that goes on, it has, the only thing that's missing is inner balance, is the union of the Shiva Shakti, of the Yoga Shekinah, the male-female principle in every human being. That's what's missing. And if people build that inside themselves, all the rest of it becomes just bullshit, it does nothing but create a lot of problems in the world and tension. And it's crap that we all have to deal with. But if you have that security in yourself, you have no problem dealing with it. And nobody will be ever able to shake it. So one has to rejoice in not being straight or gay or male. You have to rejoice in being whole. I am a whole being. I have done the inner work that has unified the male-female principle. And it's so much the nature of this meditation that we practice, to become whole, to unify the opposites, to become a whole person. So essential, because it gives us that rootedness in life and that ability to deal with all this other bullshit that goes on in the world.
It's 2 o'clock.
I mean, the governor of the state I live in, a year ago, everybody's talking about this guy becoming president. And now, because he flirted with some girls and this and that, they wanted to they're kicking him out of office. I mean, this is the bullshit that goes on in the world, And when somebody really has unified those opposites inside, you can deal with all this stuff. Otherwise, it's a freaking nightmare that goes on in life. So it's wonderful to connect with the female aspect of oneself. It's wonderful to connect with the male aspect of oneself. And what's even more wonderful is to unify them so that we become whole inside, a whole person. And that's what happens when energy moves through the sexual chakra. That's where the male-female principle is initially brought into harmony in that chakra. And again, it doesn't matter if one is straight, gay, trans, queer, or whatever, all these, as I say, all these different letters that have come out recently in the last 10 years. Doesn't matter. What matters is that energy moving through the sexual area and is the male-female principle unifying. And I think at the really foundation of all religion is this principle, the union of male-female. The earth was created because Jehovah made love to Shekhinah, on the Shabbat. And the earth was created. We have to do the same thing to create our lives by unifying those principles inside. It's in the Kabbalah, It's almost the base of the Kabbalah, the essence of it. Shiva Shakti. Uma Maheshvara is Shiva Shakti. That Uma Maheshvara is energy in the sexual area, the union of the two. You have the same thing in Tibetan Buddhism with the Yabgyam, the union of the male-female principle. It's in every religion, Mohammedan Fatima, it's in every single religion. And yet we create all these problems only because of our own insecurity, It's only our own insecurity that creates all these problems between men and women. And, none of that should exist if people become whole in themselves. I know that wasn't a direct talk about female principle, but you have to bring the two of them together to make any sense of any of this. I really mean it, because they're so essential to each other. And it's a difficult subject because people have really strong opinions about this stuff, you know, and that's why I don't talk about it a lot, because people have a lot of opinions about these kind of things. And I'm not interested in discussing theology with people. That's not my purpose. I'm trying to help people to grow and to really develop that wholeness inside themselves. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart, can you talk about Ananda?
Ananda? Yeah, look, very simple. Ananda translated means bliss. It means the heart is open. It means we live with love. We live with compassion. You know, we embrace life as our teacher. That's Ananda. We build a system inside that can do that. In order to do that, we have to unify the male-female principle. We have to be grounded inside, rooted inside. The whole chakra system has to be working. And we attain a state of Ananda, which is just being a happy person, for God's sake. That's the end product of the building of a chakra system. We attain a state of bliss, of Ananda, of love. God is love. That's the end, and that's the final step in the attainment of enlightenment. Does anyone else have a question? I love these questions. They bring such deep, incredible things out of me, things that... Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? And it takes time to unify the male, female. It takes time to attain a state of Ananda. It takes an enormous amount of work on oneself to do this. One has to have patience and be willing to do what is necessary for you to do to attain these things. And it takes time, you know, you have to understand it's a step by step process of the inner life of a human being just unfolding and growing and changing. I mean, I had something happen to me yesterday that really was, I mean, it was such a sign to me, something I would have never done 10 years ago, but it was such a sign to me of my growth and where my real energy has to be invested. You know, and it was incredible. And I was so grateful that I have arrived at a point, and I can't talk about what it is, but I was so grateful that I arrived at a point in my life where I could do that kind of thing. I could simply say no to something that was really enticing. I'm talking seriously enticing. And I could say no. This does not work in my life today. It would have worked 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But today, no. And that simple no was such a sign of my growth to me that I was so grateful. It just, my heart just was zinging, you know, I say, Stuart, my God, look how you have changed. Does anyone else have a question they would like to
ask? Stuart?
Hmm?
It seems to be a sense of that I'm having experiences, deep experiences, which not many people probably have. and we're doing a practice that many people don't do.
Yeah, but Skanda, just be grateful, you know.
Yeah. So this seems to be like an inherent aloneness, sort of.
Yeah, you attract, you don't worry about it, you know. I mean, I went through that inherent aloneness. And then, you know, every week I have, you know, I mean, there's 70, 80 people come into my life to sit and do this. And I went through that period of not being able to communicate with anybody because nobody understood. And you know what I stopped doing? I stopped trying to communicate with people on a spiritual level. I said, it's your responsibility to listen to other people and talk to them about what they're ready to talk about. And I mean it. It's really an incredible sign of growth to do that type of thing, where you no longer have to talk about deep spiritual experiences and try to convince people, but you can, somebody wants to talk about the weather, about, you know, their finances, money, you know, sports. You can talk and not think that it's superficial. You're communicating with another human being. You're making room for them to be in your life, because everybody is, you know, everybody is not ready to do this. Everybody is not ready to have deep spiritual experiences. Vitali, you have to sit still, please. You're just, you know, everybody is not ready for that, you know? So you are responsible of listening to people. How can I communicate with my family, with my friends, with people? And everybody is on a different level, and it's an amazing amount of growth to be able to do that kind of thing. And then, you know, you're not lonely. How could you be lonely if you have God inside you? You know, it's not possible. If you have spirit inside you. You know, you could be in a crowd or you can be by yourself. And there's that spirit, there's that love, there's that connection with higher energy that is constant inside you. And there's never, that sense of loneliness just goes away. Loneliness is when you're dependent upon other people being in your life.
Yeah. I'm changing so much, Stuart. From week to week, it's a different experience of the practice and of myself and of life around me, and it's changing. It's pretty remarkable.
Thank God for that. I'm very happy about that. And it's working, you know, it's working. And that's really important to me, that it is affecting you that way and anyone else who's in this class.
Thank you so much, Stuart. It's really changing my life. And
it's affected you, it's affected your mother, your brother. It's really wonderful, the whole family, practically, you know? And God bless, you know? And again, there are no accidents. You come to this when you are ready to come to it. And then it's what you do with it that is the most essential thing. How you work at it and use it and grow with it, or you just say, oh, well, meditation, I'll go and I'll do it, and it makes me feel good, and, you know, you understand? And it changes people's lives. Changed my life. I told you yesterday, to me, it was a living miracle that I was able to say no to this person. And I'm talking like this was something really big. And I said, no, I can't do this. And 10 years ago, there was no way I would have said no. No way, I'm right in the middle of it, you know? And it just makes me grateful that I can see my life more clearly, how to make choices more clearly. Now, how not to offend people when I say no to them, you know, to do it in a loving way. Those are all signs of growth. I remember Rudy, you know, Rudy had a lot of property in New York. He owned almost a whole block in New York City, and he was standing in front of one of his buildings and it was burning. And I was standing right, and he looked at me and he said, Stuart, I must really be growing. He said, I don't feel an ounce of tension with this thing going on in my life. And it was a great teaching for me. How people change. We all change. And the whole purpose of this is to change consciously, because we change anyway. We all get older, we change.
Stuart, I want to ask you something. When you are grounded, when a person is grounded, are they able to insult somebody? Like if somebody offends you, if somebody says something to you that upsets you, in my case, me, right? If somebody tells me something that offends me, if I am grounded,
why do you want to insult?
Would I insult them? Like, would I just?
Why do you want to insult them? Why do you want to go down to their level? Why can't you just look at them and say, okay, whatever, if that's the way you feel, then we don't have to see each other anymore. Quietly, instead of insulting people, then you come down to their level, there's a big fight, an argument, everybody's drained of their energy, and people wind up hating each other. You just, all right, they insulted you, sometimes when people insult you, they're saying you're insulted because they're saying something to you that really is wrong inside you. And it offends you that somebody notices this. And they say, okay, I too have a lot of work to do on myself. Instead of fighting with them. If you're really balanced inside, nothing insults you. What can insult you? You have God inside you. What can insult you? You're completely secure in your life. So, don't wind up trying to, well, they insulted me, that's how wars start. And before it's over with, millions of people get killed, Get grounded. And then you'll know, I promise you, if you really get grounded inside, you'll never be insulted. You'll just laugh. And you want to allow yourself to belittle yourself and to go down to the level of somebody else, Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, anyway, there'll be a class Sunday, and thank you and God bless you all, and great questions. And I'm really starting to enjoy these classes more and more. And bless you all for being here, for participating in this. And hopefully I'll see you all on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, wear a mask, wherever you are in the world. And bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome.